What's up, guys? FKA Closer. If you are trying to close people at the end of a call, if that is your plan, you have already lost the sale. And this is where 99% of new closers go wrong. They think that closing a deal actually happens at the end of the call. But the truth is, all of those objections that are coming up for you and you're terrified of, you have to realize that you're actually causing them probably like 10, 15 minutes before they even come up, right? At the middle of the call, at the start of the call. And so in this video, I want to explain to you what you should be doing and how you should be thinking moving forward if your goal is to get really good at high ticket sales, whether you're a coach, consultant, or a sales rep in the online coaching and consulting world. Now, a lot of people think that closing happens at the end of the call, right? You should have some really good objection handling techniques, some reframes, all that stuff. But the truth is, you need to start closing at the start of the call and in the middle of the call and before the pitch and after the pitch, right? And so like the way I think about closing per se is actually closing doors. So I need to start thinking, okay, what are some things that will jeopardize this deal? What are some things that may get in the way of this person actually getting what they want? And when I start thinking like that, then I start seeing potential objections as open doors that I need to help the client close. So what are the major objections? Time, money, think about it, partner. There's other variations of all of those, but they're the main ones. So what I'm doing is I'm preemptively, throughout the early stages of my call, I'm bringing up all of those things in a proactive way. I'm not waiting to the end. I'm not leaving it by chance. And when I bring it up during a call, what that forces the other person to do is they have to overcome their own objection. All right. So this is a bit inception based kind of matrix style selling, but it's pretty simple when you think about it. Right. And so just on that phrase, let me think about it. Time objection. So, and it's a delay, right? And so for me, during the call, asking a question around like, why don't you just sort of keep going the way you've been going? Why is it such an important sort of priority for you to change this now? Right? They're going to tell me, and that's going to start closing that door. Right? And so you need to start thinking about, okay, where am I actually closing the deal? It's not at the end of the call. If you leave it towards the end, then essentially what you've done during the discovery portion of your sales call is you've just talked, right? And there's no point. You're supposed to be qualifying people. Now, another switch that I would recommend, and before I get into it, if you need any help with this, check out the link in the description below or the pinned comment in this video. You can work with me one-on-one. I can help you do this tactically for your own sales process to make sure that you're closing at a high rate, cash collected is high, all that good stuff. So you're interested, check out the description below, check out the pinned comment. But the next thing that I'd like you to also think about is, rather than you qualifying people in, why don't we shift that around a little bit? Let's put it on its head. And they have to essentially convince you that their pain's worth solving. Or in other words, we're looking for reasons why we should disqualify people, right? Because the truth is, there's probably more reasons for people not to work with you or your company than there are reasons for them to work with you and your company. So if I go into a call and I'm starting to think, okay, like, how is this person a good fit? Convince me that your pain's worth solving. And that's the energetics that I come to the call with. There's no neediness. There's no needy energy there. And so I've shifted the energetics, and now that person on the other side of the conversation is starting to feel like they've got to justify themselves to me, which is totally different to the way the majority of closers, coaches and consultants selling their own stuff as well, approach sales. It's always from a place of, I need to convince you to buy. I need to persuade you. And when you do that, that's where you get caught in the trap of, all of these really bad smokescreen objections, because people can feel the needy energy. So think about maybe some ways in terms of how do I change my sales process to make sure that the discovery portion of my call is where I close the deal. How can I ensure that I'm preemptively addressing objections? So therefore, the person that I'm speaking to has to close those doors, right, before we continue to move forward in the process. And how can I approach the call from a state of, you need to convince me, and please don't say that explicitly to the potential client. Never say that. This is a mental model, a mental framework. But how can I approach my calls from that mental model of, convince me that your pain's worth solving, and I need to disqualify this person out rather than qualify the person in, because then it just changes the underlying dynamics of the phone conversation or the Zoom conversation, and now your neediness is gone. Because you got to remember, when it comes to closing any deal, the person's scheduled to call you because they have a problem, right? Even if they told you that they're just curious or they're just looking for some more information, nobody jumps on a sales call because they're just curious or they're looking for more information. You understand that, right? And so you can't accept, and this is another video, but you cannot accept non sequiturs, right? Surface level, fluffy answers. Everyone jumps on the call for more information. I'm curious though, for you specifically, what problems are you looking to solve with the information? Assuming that I can provide the right information to you. Again, butchered it, but you get the point, right? So, hopefully you found today's video valuable, insightful. Let me know in the comments below. And until next time, as always, stay safe, stay well, and happy selling.